Booyah, and it's time for the Game Sports Podcast. This is your host, David McCaig Jr. The Game is powered by 91 and the 91 Network. It's a YouTube channel where you can check out video editions of the game as well as other podcasts. And we're also featured on Spaces, which is through Village Media and Stu Today. The Game Sports Podcast is on the hockey and sports space of Spaces through Sault Ste. Marie. Check out your space that you want to get involved with today, and don't hesitate to interact with us. You can also check us out on social media, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. Look at the Game Sports Podcast. I put a lot of emphasis on sports because people tend to misspell at the Game Sports Podcast, but you can find us, so search us and you will locate us. And of course, you may be already tuning in on the audio platforms, but you can find us on Spotify, Apple, all over the place. You can even check us out on ChatGPT. Yep, we're there. I even looked on Gemini and it told me booyah, which I felt was absolutely hilarious. So fun fact of the day for you. You can find us anywhere if you did not know that. And we appreciate the interaction we've had on TikTok these past 3 weeks. A lot of new followers and interaction, especially with some of the content we brought up. And we're very excited to continue to bring you some electrifying content here on the Game Sports Podcast. And there's one that I saw that said, Mr. Electric Avenue. If you know, you know. If you want to learn what that means more, you're going to have to comment below. Nonetheless, this week's agenda, very simple. We've had hockey these last few weeks. It ain't changing, but we have a little dash of something toward the end of the show after Brennan and Jordan are done with me. Football because of free agency. It isn't the In the Pocket segment, of course, without Justin, but I am going to have to do one solo. So we're going to have Top Shelf, Chuck-a-Puck, and Solo Dave in the pocket, if you will, to wrap up the show. Let's start off with Top Shelf with the one, the only, B-Mac, Brandon McCarthy. I'm going to go with B-Mac. I like that better than Cart. It's awful, that nickname I had, but how you doing, my friend?
I'm good, Dave. Yeah, that nickname, I think, started in, high school? I think my tennis coach, my grade 11 tennis coach, coined that because he'd make us do a lot of cardio. More cardio than holding a racket. And I was probably the least conditioned dude, and he was always just busting my balls a lot. And he'd always be like, B-Mac's going to lead us off. And as much as I hated leading off suicides or sprints or whatever we had to do, kind of stuck, right?
Exactly. You know what? Fun. Mine has always been Kegger, which is actually funny because you went with the Kegger text.
I didn't even know that when I texted you.
Fun fact, always been Kegger. Since elementary school was the first time someone called me that. So I even had a teacher that used to teach me called me Kegger, which is I felt absolutely hilarious now that you look back at it. But nonetheless, my friend, there's a lot we can get to here. And I am sitting here wearing a Toronto Maple Leaf t-shirt.
You're bold, man.
And I'm wearing I got Toronto Maple Leafs here. I haven't changed the background, okay? Wayne Gretzky's laughing at me in the background there as he waves goodbye in his farewell picture. And we're going to react to the trade deadline, okay? And we're going to save the Leafs for last, viewers and listeners. Look, we obviously give them a little extra love on the show because of our location. We're not going to say fans, but our location. We are located in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, the show. But BMAC is in Southern Ontario, okay? So I think it pieces together. And for those who've been following the show a long time, I know we've used to give a lot of love to Michigan because of our Twin City vibe that we had, and sorry that it ain't the same with that, but we're going to talk about all teams. We always do. We talk all sports on here, so don't think we're just going to be reacting to Toronto, but there is a big piece on that on this segment today for sure. But the trade deadline, I want to go there first. Post-reaction trades, I can list them off, but people know them all. A couple that we can highlight. It's Kadri back to the Avs, Shen to the Islanders, Falk to the Red Wings. You had Panarin in before the deadline go to the Kings. You had Scotty Lawton go over to the Kings. Nick Waugh went over to the Avalanche and a steal for the Leafs, to be honest. You had the Minnesota Wild, who got Quinn Hughes earlier in the season, now got Nick Foligno. So Utah got Mackenzie Weegar. Like, there's a couple that I just named out of all the trades that happened, Brennan. So this deadline was, you're a part of that TSN family, right? And Trade Center is very much like, I feel like it should be a holiday. I remember I used to play some hooky of school back in the day. I can say that now. And I'd have my hot chocolate. I used to love a hot chocolate. And I would sit and watch that. And my dad would let me stay home for that, okay? I'd have hockey training in the morning. I'd sit down and watch Trade Center with James Duthie and the lads. It was the best day to always get that go. Man, Everyone did it. It was key. Obviously, the deadline's a little bit different, I'm finding. Trades happen a bit before, but a lot of the trades happen midday towards the end of the day where stuff starts trickling in. But the boys keep you entertained on TSN, and all the other programs too are great. I'm not shutting down everybody else, but obviously friend of the show, James Duthie, and previous guest, of course, keeps you quite entertained. And Brennan, we had a trade deadline that was, I want to say, average, but there's a lot of good moves that happened and a lot of surprising moves that had happened as well. So let's kick it off. We're going to do this as a round table. We're going to go back and forth, just kind of what we feel like with the content for the trade deadline. And I'm going to start with you, wherever you want to start with it, wherever you want to go. Leafs last, obviously, for reasons. Yeah. Leafs last.
Yeah, so I was actually talking about this with Evan Dobig, and friend of the show and a guest on Top Shelf Game Sports Podcast. And I was like, I feel like I want to categorize trade deadline into three big segments. It's the big hitters, the plug and play, and the desperate. So the Leafs, you said deal with them last now. But because I'm saying desperate, the Leafs were desperate. They were lucky to get a first for Nick Waugh. The big hitters, you mentioned it. Kadri reunites with the Avalanche, right? Utah gets Mackenzie Weegar, Braden Shen to the Isle, John Carlson to the Ducks, like big hitting teams going for it and making a splash. And then you kind of have the plug and play, which is what I think Jarmo Kekalainen and the Buffalo Sabres did. Everyone was kind of like, oh, I don't know if I think the team before the deadline has been fantastic, and they're an absolute wagon, and they added some physicality and some toughness on the back end with Luke Shen and Logan Stanley. Plug and play, right? And I think the plug and play segment is a GM basically saying like, hey, I love the structure of this group. I don't want to tinker with it too much, but I'm just going to fill some spots and help bolster the team a little bit, right? I'm not going to go out and maybe exhaust our, picks or prospects and unload the cupboard, as Darren Dreger likes to say.
I love that term, Darren Dreger.
Unload the cupboard. But it's one of those like, hey, I'm gonna give you this guy because it addresses a need. Yeah. But I'm not gonna be like, I'm gonna go out and get a top six just to, say I did, right? Yeah. But the biggest winner, I think, is Colorado Avalanche. Not only getting Kadri back with the team he won the cup with in 2022, but he got Calgary to retain most of the 3 years remaining on Kadri's deal.
That's what I thought they were just going to get. Like, you're not getting shit. That's the word I'll use. You're going to just take Kadri's contract and eat it. And it didn't happen that way. Calgary helped it out because they know they're in a rebuilding, and that's what when you had to make that trade, you had to trade what you did so you could be able to add more guys, or you won't be strained, because Kadri has term and he's not young. Okay, I'm not saying that he's old because we're close in age to him. The point. Well, I know you're a bit younger than I am, but the thing is, they had to retain, or else I don't think the deal would have got done to move him. And I think Calgary had to move him, Brennan. I think they had to.
Yeah, and honestly, man, the Islanders too. I know I've said before in the podcast with Parr here that, sometimes come April, May, you got a Saturday 3 p.m. playoff tilt between the Isle and the Devils. Not exactly enticing, but what the Islanders are doing right now, you got Braden Shen, and they picked up Andre Palat a couple months ago. I think they're going to be a force to be reckoned with too come playoff time. So, what's funny? Okay, you know what? We're human. But I was joking about yesterday. It's like if you're in like media and podcasting, it's like you got to get the names and you got to get the pronunciation right. So I'm kind of eating my words. I'm sorry to the Avalanche fans. I all good. All right. I'm basically pumping your tires saying you had the best trade deadline. So, yeah. And it's also good to see, right? Like there's a lot of new teams going to be in the playoffs this year, right? Buffalo is a big one. And it's kind of shows that there's going to be, some new rivalries forming. There already is potentially a big one forming right now with Tampa and Buffalo. They had an absolute dogfight the other night on Sunday night.
Love it.
That game was, I like saying this word to describe some things. That game was drunk. It had everything. So I think, at this point, only 2 Canadian teams will make the playoffs, Habs and Oilers. That's basically a lock now, isn't it?
And the best chance,
I guess,
for
Ottawa, but
the best chance Canada has for a cup this year is Edmonton again, because Montreal's in a tough spot. I think Tampa and Buffalo are ahead of them. Montreal's gliding; they're in a good spot. I've said this on this podcast a lot. I like what Hughes has done with that team and drafted right. Never mind just Like that first overall pick was Slavkovsky. Everyone's like, oh, you should have got Shane Wright.
Shane Wright,
Nope.
yeah.
Obviously not, right? Like they doubted. He took the time too. He didn't trade assets. He's like, okay, we need to reset. Carey Price left, Weber left after that bubble cup run, and they had to kind of retool, right? You already had some pieces there, Cole and Nick, okay, but they had to fill it in. They were small, but they had to do it, right?
Yeah,
they had
and hey, Dave, as you mentioned this, we're recording this Tuesday, March 10th, just after 7 p.m. It's already 1-0 Habs over the Leafs. Preseason hockey for the Leafs right now. For the Leafs, it's preseason hockey.
So deadline things. What I wanted to say is I feel that teams that were smart at the deadline was Pittsburgh. And people are going to be like, why? Didn't do anything. And I'm crediting Dubas. Pittsburgh didn't do anything to change what was going on because they have done enough moves where they're focusing on draft capital and they're overachieving this year. In my opinion, they are. Dubas, I think, won't state that, but he knows that I think it's fair to say this is a team that I don't expect to go past the first round. I'm sorry. I'm a huge Sid fan. I'm a fan. They're exactly this. They're playing above their expectation, and if you look at the standings right now, they would play against the New York Islanders if the playoffs started today.
I think the Isle win that.
I think the Isle win that too because I hope I would be wrong because I'm a Sid fan. But either way, if they got to the second round, Carolina Hurricanes are waiting there, or as you go on, Tampa's there. I just don't see them coming out of the East, but. When you look at the move to bring in Shen, that's a big move, right? They also got huge, true playoff experience and physicality, and that piece that's going to really support that dynamic, and that's showing to your team that okay, our GM believes. Okay, we got a guy with term, someone who's going to get the job done for us. Kadri to Colorado, we talked about. The Leafs we're saving for last. That's why I'm not talking about the Kings because there's someone on the Kings that's doing extremely well right now. But the big surprise for me, and I love this surprise, is Mackenzie Weegar to Utah. I'm a huge fan, and Carlson to the
big
Ducks.
get.
You didn't know. Nobody knew that those two trades were happening. I didn't even think Weegar was available. Guy's got term out the yin yang. He's still a good age. Someone who's a top defenseman. Calgary's like they're full sal. Like they're restarting the cabinet. Okay, that's what it felt like with doing that trade. As I shake my camera, I'm sorry, everybody. A little excited.
The Carlson one threw me for a loop.
That was the biggest
that.
loop.
Yeah,
biggest loop. Like Ovechkin's in basically tears, right? And then replace him with Timothy Liljegren after. And trust me, like that's not John Carlson. Okay. So like winners of the deadline, like the deadline overall. Okay. And I can go back to you for this. Deadline excitement, 6 out of 10. Trade quality, 6 out of 10. Blockbusters, 3 out of 10. Surprising trades, 8 out of 10. Weegar, Carlson, Braden Shen, didn't think those were happening that day. But the real blockbusters happened earlier in the season, a.k.a. Quinn Hughes, okay? Just to flag to everyone. Big winners at the deadline for me. I know people disagree, but Colorado, and people disagree with me, Brennan, because they gave up too much to get what they did. They only did that for Nick Waugh. I think they only gave up too much for Nick Waugh. Winners of the deadline for me, you got to add on there to LA. I like what LA did, basically leading up to the deadline. Minnesota adding Foligno and what they've done prior. But talking deadline day itself, I'm definitely going to highlight the Ducks and Islanders too being winners. Bringing in Carlson and bringing in Shen, those are great fits for that team. Losers at the deadline, I got to flag Vancouver. Even though they moved Quinn Hughes before that, I got to, for what they didn't do. And Toronto, I'm still marking as a loser for the deadline, if you will. And another loser for me is the Carolina Hurricanes, man. Okay, there's a team that's like, they have minimal options with maybe they can move out, but they haven't been able to get past the third round. They run into a roadblock and they haven't been able to get to that hump. And I don't think they, even though what they added in the offseason, I don't think they did what's necessary to put them over the top in the East. Okay. I'm sorry I didn't add Buffalo to the winners, but they did what you did, what you called it, plug and play. Love that example. Plug and play. Nothing flashy, just big, towering.
No. You don't want to disrupt the, like I said, the structure of the team because they're humming right now without those guys. But again, you want a Luke Shen, in game 6 of the first round, you want a Logan Stanley to be, clearing the crease if someone's trying to yuck it up, right? So I think they're
big guy.
They're good. Yeah, they're good ads. I'm pretty sure Logan Stanley is the tallest guy in the league. And then Luke Shen could fight anybody in the league. So I think it's a plug and play scenario.
Buffalo beats Tampa in a 7-game series this year, Brandon. I'm sorry. And I know you might disagree. And this might be that good banter we can have. Like this is it. Because
I think Cooper. I could see it going 7, but I think Tampa edges them out just because Cooper is just a mastermind. He is a mastermind.
So you're saying coaching's the factor?
I think coaching just gets them over.
Do you-
I'm so impressed with Buffalo this year, but I think ultimately Cooper, he's a mastermind. He's a master at his craft.
I just think that physicality that they added and the way that team plays, someone I'm really looking at is Alex Tuck, right? In the 7-game series. That's someone I'm looking at. And I've been an avid Owen Power fan since he's drafted. Like, Trudeau can answer this when he comes on. I love big, movable defensemen. He's got wheels. He's 6'6", Canadian to boots. Love that as an additional add. That is a core. Like, you got Darlene and Power there. I love what Buffalo has been waiting for this, Brendan. They've been waiting for this. This should have been a wagon years ago.
Speaking of, I wanted to ask you and your take on this. Speaking of Rasmus Dahlin, what do you think of that? Not one, like 3 haymakers from Brandon Hagel, shades of Todd Bertuzzi and more.
Yeah, a tough example. Very tough example. You know what? That game had that playoff feel to it. Don't get me wrong, but you never want to see some of that dirty shit that's going around you. But at that end, despite that, I would like to say uncalled for with some terms that I used, but at the end of the day, there's emotions running high. Buffalo's at a place they haven't been. Tampa's been there with Florida for multiple years. This isn't new to them having these brawls. So what do I take on it? I just feel that, this just setting the tone, but in a risky way that I feel like could have been a little bit of a different approach to it. But the league addressed a lot of that game. And I have a future matchup, hopefully in the calendars for them, because I'd be excited to see what goes on. I just like what I'm seeing from both teams, despite some of the occurrences in that game. We saw some real playoff hockey, BMAC.
We should get the Game Sports Podcast to send us, aka you, to Buffalo to see a playoff game.
I bet you the tickets aren't that bad to go see in Buffalo. There's every time when you look at the standings, Boston came down to reality a little bit. Montreal kind of did too, but Detroit, a team that's took their time. Buffalo took their time times 5.
2011. 2011 was the last time they were in, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And some Leaf fans, I'm going to give you some. 1998. Know what happened in 1998? They beat the Leafs in the conference finals, ladies and gentlemen.
The only team that's out of the playoffs that gets a pass are the Florida Panthers.
Yeah, 3 years in the cup finals.
Because since 2023, 3 straight cup final runs. And for a bunch of guys, they've had 4 Nations sprinkled in there, Olympics. I think Panthers were the most represented team at the Olympics.
And Barkov's been hurt this year.
Barkov.
Right?
That's a team where you say, okay, have a nice offseason.
Yeah, and Bobrovsky, I don't think comes back. And let me tell you, I think they're a younger goalie away again from getting back to where they need to be. But I think this goes, I know we have a couple parts before Trudeau comes in. I know he's going to be in here any minute. So trying to move on to the Leafs for a second. When the Leafs had traded Nick Waugh, I said, holy shit, here we go. There might be some fleas action. Get out the tick medication. Okay, here we go, because there's going to be some ticks, some fleas, whatever the heck I'm talking about here. Because getting a first for Nick Waugh, that's one of those things where you yell, start the car, as I shook the camera again. That's how excited I am. I was like, what is I remember reading that. I was like, nah, this is bull. Like I had to confirm, I had to call a few people, and it happened. It happened. And then you sit the deadline, you're like, I'm at work, I'm keeping an eye on my phone, like appropriately, if anyone watches from work, it's appropriately. Just looking at the phone here and there. And in my lunch, I'm like, oh. Then it's like, oh, you trade Bobby McMahon. I'm like, oh no, here we go. What do we got? A second and a fourth. Oh, that's underwhelming. Okay, I'll take that. Whatever. Expiring contracts, swallow the pill. 2 minutes later, Scott Lawton to the LA Kings. I'm like, oh, okay. Did they get a second or a first? A third for a conditional second. And I'm sitting there, and this is what I did. I'm done. Not looking anymore for the rest of the day. I don't care if Carlo, but this is what we're forgetting. I just mentioned the guy who didn't move, Brendan Carlo. Guys that are also on expiring deals. You sat there and just took basically a garbage bag and a pack of yogurt-covered pretzels for Scott Lawton, and you get a little bit of candy for Bobby McMahon, and then you get the Ernie's Dinner Special, restaurant here in the Sioux, delicious, by the way, best in town. I know I have friends that own restaurants, sorry to say, I love Ernie's. You get the dinner special for Nicholas Waugh, okay? You got just absolutely suckered for the other two.
I don't know how we got
a suckered for Carlo, too, then.
I don't know how we got a first for Nick Waugh. I was kind of hoping we get a first for Lawton, but
and
just because what he brings, right?
Pick. 6 rounds. 6th overall pick. That's what's going to happen in Toronto. You're going to get the 6th overall pick this year, and guess who gets it? The Boston Bruins. And you traded you traded Brendan Carlo for the 6th overall pick that's walking at the end of the year. And then next year, when you're trying to retool again, hopefully you do, because guess who's that pick? Guess who gets that pick? The Philadelphia Flyers. Okay, so yeah, you know what, Austin Matthews, you better hope that this retool is a quick turnaround. Let me tell you that much.
The problem is the Leafs probably have the least sought after players in the league. If you think about it, Brandon Carlo, Yarncroc, Matthias Michelli, Joshua, Nick Robertson, like there's 5 right there.
Why doesn't Carlo go? Well, you had the mentality to get whatever you can for Lawton.
Probably
where
because
was that for Carlo?
Probably because big body right shot defensemen are hard to come by. And I'm sure Trey Living's like, maybe this is just a year where Carlo needs to flush and we can maybe work on a decent deal that works for both sides in the offseason. I mean, OEL, I think he probably would have got the best return.
Forgot about him too. Yeah, forgot about him.
But I think he wanted to stay, and I think Trey Living's like, we kind of need this guy. Right?
They're so bad. I when we watched this team after they played, I forget who they played after the deadline, and it sucked. I'm sorry, draw my blank. Everyone's probably yelling at their screen right now. Tampa, and then they played the Rangers. The Rangers before that was before
Florida
the
in there.
Yeah, it's the I know the Rangers, and right now you said to lose in Montreal, but Tampa, and they got absolutely. The first period wasn't even a match. I turned it off at the first period. I'm telling you right now, it's okay. I'm not watching this garbage. And OEL's trade fine with Morgan Riley. You're not trading that guy. So people that thought you're going to trade Morgan Riley right now, it's not happening.
That's priority number 1 in the offseason. Do whatever you can to free up 7-5 so you can get someone in free agency.
100%. Morgan Riley, OEL, those are guys that you can look at moving in the offseason, okay? But Brendan Carlo, I don't think they're resigning him. I think they should have just tried to get a second. You know who I would have knocked on the door to before they got Logan Stanley and Shen? Just gave it away. Buffalo Sabres. I think they tried to get Colton Parayko, and he said no, and I can't believe Colton Parayko said no, but hey, his choice. Like, there's other teams that could have looked at Carlo. The Pittsburgh Penguins, I'm very surprised they didn't knock on that door. If you're looking at the Western Conference, I'm very surprised that potentially the Edmonton Oilers didn't look, but they made a lot of moves, right? Or a couple overpriced moves, may I add, the Edmonton Oilers. But even if you're looking at the Dallas Stars, good defensive core, but imagine adding Carlo to be this 5th or 6th defenseman on Dallas. There's teams that would have given a second for Carlo BMAC. That's what I'm saying. Like, maybe you want the first because that's what you gave up, but you also gave up a first for Scott Lawton, and you got garbage can and yogurt covered pretzels, like I said. Okay. Brendan Carlo, okay, gets you a 2nd round pick. The guy has a very affordable cap hit because Boston ate it up. Right shot defenseman, big guy. If they don't re-sign him in the offseason, this is a bigger L for the Leafs, Brendan. This was not the Nick Waugh thing doesn't make up for the nonsense for McMahon and Waugh. McMahon I can swallow because you're like, almost a first. Lawton, I can't. Now guy goes to LA, but he's got a couple goals, couple assists, looking real good. Nick Waugh looking real good. Okay, and you got Bobby McMahon in Seattle who's fitting it. I can't, dude. I can't. And it's so upsetting. But the OEL Morgan Riley, people don't be mad at that. You can be patient with those trades. But Carlos should have been traded. Robertson should have been traded. Anthony Stolarz should have been traded. I don't care what anyone says. Go with Wall and Hill to be. They had options. Okay, and I think Tree Living doesn't just get a W for what he did for Nick Waugh. It was very underwhelming, and I'm not pleased if you're a Toronto fan taking my host hat off here, BMAC.
Okay, Trudeau just entered the chat, so I want to ask you the Canadian team questions.
Yes, okay. And then we can wrap up. Yep.
So sticking with Canadian team captains, who is next to leave or be stripped to the sea? Probably more likely the former, that they'll leave. Who's next to leave?
I like that.
Who are all the cap? Wow, listen, who are?
So here we go. So there's no captain. There's no captain in Vancouver. Calgary got Michael
Suzuki,
Backlund.
Matthews.
You got Adam Lowry in Winnipeg. Austin Matthews in Toronto. Connor McDavid, Edmonton. You said Nick Suzuki, Montreal. Who am I missing?
Tkachuk, Ottawa.
Brady Tkachuk, Ottawa. So basically, 6 out of the 7 Canadian teams have captains currently because Quinn Hughes said, "See ya."
Yeah.
So you can say after Quinn Hughes. After Quinn Hughes, who goes next?
So Vancouver has to choose a captain, which I think is very interesting.
Because I don't know if they want to keep Pettersson, right? Like, I don't know if he's going to stay.
If they draft McKenna this year, That's your future captain of Vancouver. They'll have another A, then they'll give McKenna an early C.
Draft
That's my
Chase
early
Reed.
prediction. Chase Reed if they get that. Anyway,
Who's the
I want to say it's Brady Tkachuk.
good pick?
even with term?
Well,
You
what's
think
his
he goes
term?
with term? He's got 6, 7, 8. What's he have?
Yeah, he
his
signed
contract?
He's got a long-
an 8-year deal
An 8-year. He has a long-term deal.
recently.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought he wanted out though. Like maybe that
You know
was
what?
just
You
the
want
way-
to know who's
might demand
you know
out
who's
of
the
there.
first? You know who's the first to go?
Matthews?
I know who you're gonna say.
It's gonna be a tie.
So same day
I
they'll
would've
say,
looked-
I'm out of here.
97 and 34.
I don't think 97's going.
97 gone, and I'm not saying 97's going
I don't think
home.
he's going.
Home. 97 and 34. I guess you can't say a tie. I just want it to be nice. 34 is the first to go, Brendan.
I'd have to
take
agree.
it.
I think it's 34.
34. Austin Matthews is the first to go. You sit here and you say, okay, Leaf forever. You say that he is okay with this retool and get back. But let me tell you, this can go one of two ways. If this retool goes the way that Matthews thinks it's going to go, or it's going to be quick, then okay, maybe there's a chance because Arizona's not in the league anymore. Okay. You might have a shot, but if this retool goes south, continuing this year into next year, you got to move Matthews by the deadline because he's going to walk for nothing. And this is the beauty of it. Nice NMC. Matthews.
You know where
gets
he's going to go?
choose.
You know where Austin
LA.
Matthews is going to go? No, he's going to Vegas. He is going to Vegas because he's boys with Hannafin and Jack Eichel and, oh yeah, Mitch Marner, who's there for life. He's going to Vegas. That's what's going to happen. He's going to Vegas at this point. Lock it in.
So my answer, as I joke on the tie, as much as I want to say it's a tie, you got contract in there, you got moves. The first captain to go, it can go two ways, like I said. If Leafs retool, he'll resign if it works out. Even then, it's hard for me to really faithfully say that option one doesn't happen. So I'm going to say 34 is the first. And I'll sadly have to agree that as much as I'd love to see 97 don the blue and white, he seems like a legacy player, in my honest opinion. But
Yeah.
I think there's a chance that he doesn't. But
I like
there's a
Trudeau. I
chance
like
for
Trudeau's
sure.
pick for sure. Brady Tkachuk is actually a pretty valid option because, I mean, since coming into the league, he came in 2018, he's only seen playoff hockey for 6 games?
Yeah. And with everything that happened over the Olympics, I mean, you think like he's looking into an American market for sure.
I think
But
he's probably
I don't know,
I
like-
want to go play with my brother.
Yeah, or something like that. I think Matthews, that's a tough one. Like, why would you not at least consider dealing him right now? Like, you know what I mean? Like, at the very least, like you still have a strong.
it's a fair point. But
They'll explore it.
talent,
They'll explore it.
generational
Have to
talent.
explore it.
But the thing is, it shouldn't be Tree Living doing it. It shouldn't be Tree Living doing it. Do
Yeah.
you want Tree Living being the guy in the future? This is what Pelly's thinking, that Tree Living's the guy who's going to retool this hockey team? You're sadly mistaken. There's minds out there that should be GMs. I'm a huge Joe Thornton fan for a lot of reasons. Not because I followed him in the bathroom when he was here in Sault Ste. Marie, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, just because he's going to be a bright hockey mind. There's guys out there that are available that could be looked at the AGM, and I'm not going to list them all, or president roles that could be moved over. If you're Keith Pelly, who says he claims that he's not about the money and claims he's about winning on this franchise, if that's true, you want to retool. If those both are true, you got to look and really ask the question if Tree Living is the guy who should be building this hockey team, because to me, he's not. He's ran Calgary into the ground. The moves he made this year, we thought he was cooking. It obviously didn't work. He's running this into the ground. The trades he made for Carlo didn't work out in this hindsight being 2020 method. Don't care. It still didn't work now. We're worried about the now. And if you bring in a mind that can really retool this based on what it should be, then Matthews can stay there.
Are you guys
So
in the
that's
camp?
the
Are you
first
guys?
question.
Are you guys in the camp that Trey Living and Berube go? Because I might be in the minority, but I'd love to keep Craig Berube and say new GM, please. Because at some point, if you're the players and you're taking no accountability, you've gone through so many a carousel of coaches, and every year or every couple of years, it's like, well, you know what? They tuned out the guy, and we got to find a new guy. I'm like, what?
And
like
what do they do
What
every
guy's
time?
going to come
They
in
stop
and
playing for him.
they stop playing for him? But like, what guy's going to come in
Babies.
and change these guys' attitude? I don't know. I
It's
think
not Tortorella, but
honestly,
Berube
but
is the guy. He
Berube-
is the guy that can move this team.
The only reason I'd want Berube to not coach next year is because I worry for the guy's health. That guy's been going through it this year. Like, just like he took a barbell to the head every time he's on the bench. It looks like his head's gonna explode.
Yeah, he just seemed very healthy. Yeah, I know.
I feel bad for him,
I
and I
just
think he's a great coach, and it would be
Me too.
stupid for them to fire the guy. Trey Living, I think he's got to go. I think he looked good
So
last year, and he tried to make it work this year with some plug and play guys. It didn't work out. I think I'd give him like a C+ trade deadline. He's got to go.
So here's the thing. I'm going to say this. You say the first to go, and I gave you two options about Matthews. Okay. So that doesn't give the definitive answer to your question. So to give you the definitive answer to your question, the first to go will be Backlund. Okay. I say 3-4 because it depends on two avenues. From a certain direction, from a way an organization is going and what we're seeing today, Backlund makes the most sense. Veteran guy, rebuilding team for sure, where the Leafs are in the thought process of retooling and trying to retain Austin Matthews.
Fair point.
Same with the Edmonton Oilers trying to get Connor McDavid to stay there beyond his 2-year discounted extension. Very discounted. Big
Buzz
haircut.
cut, actually.
Massive. Okay, so the first captain to go is going to be Backlund on the Calgary Flames, 150%. But we spun it to Matthews because there's no way that they're not going to explore a trade option this year. But I got to say passionately, it cannot be Tree Living making that call. It needs to be a GM who's either cut and dry or a bright young mind that they had, but that's okay. We all know why Dubas left now. It makes sense. He took a president role in Pittsburgh because Shanahan told him he couldn't trade Mitch Marner. Those rumors are apparently true. Okay, he goes to Pittsburgh and takes a president role, and look what he's doing in Pittsburgh. Seems to be doing some good work there. But besides the point, Matthews, if the Leafs retool, he stays. If the retool doesn't work out, you got to trade him at the deadline next year. But there's foolishness if you don't explore it this off season for sure, but it should not be Tree Living doing it. So to answer your question, Brennan, Backlund will be the first, but not close behind, or very close behind, will be Austin Matthews, depending on the Leafs' direction.
Fair point. So we got Brady Tkachuk, AM34 for me, and Michael Backlund for Kegger.
Yeah, my final answer is Backlund for sure. Sticking the safe route with that. Love that answer. Love that question. I can't wait for some of that banter. There you go, Jerry. Our producer can have fun making that clip in 3 minutes, and making that a discussion into a 3-minute clip. He can certainly have fun doing that as he's going to sit there and chuckle. All right, Brennan, it's been fun. I would never ask you before you signed off. Do you have an overall grade for the deadline about out of 10? Entertainment, moves, everything combined, if you had to give it a score out of 10. I gave my really descriptive scores, but what's your overall score of the deadline before I let you go?
Entertainment's always 10. I had it on all day. It's the best. It gets better every year. And then you want to couple in what? The trades as well?
Trades, yeah. I had when I highlighted it, it was
7
trades, blockbusters out of 10 as well. Those were the two other ones.
Are we doing it all in or separate?
I said all in, but if you want to do it separate, you feel free.
I would say all in, like it wasn't like wow day. So that's where it drops overall to a 7.
Fair. Like that. And Trudes, before we go to you for Chuck a Puck, you are a Vancouver fan, correct?
Unfortunately or fortunately, depending on what year.
Perfect. I chirped Vancouver for doing next to nothing, but you can't forget they traded Quinn Hughes earlier this year.
Yeah, they did their moves early. So
yeah, do you think they did enough at the deadline, or do you think they were okay not making moves at the deadline?
I think they're okay. I think I think moving forward, like they're doing what is right. Like they're doing the right things. Like I mean, it was good to see them to get a return. Obviously, it was a decent return for Quinn Hughes. Obviously, you'd never like to see your captain and a player of that stature like go. And that's 2 for me this year. That's Quinn Hughes going and Bo Bichette. So that was like a tough time and for me this year. But you know what happens? That's the business. I hope I'm happy to see Tyler Myers kind of have an opportunity to play elsewhere again. Like he's a veteran guy. He's getting to the end of his career. Like it'll be like fun for him there. And then Connor Garland, they dealt to. I don't want them to trade too many of their vets because I feel like when you do that and you go for like a completely like rebuild down to the studs, like it just takes even longer because your rookies don't have that like veteran presence around or that winning culture around.
Fair.
To start to make like a difference in the league as good as the NHL. So like I hope they can surround like Brock Besser. Hopefully they can find a spot for him. Obviously the Pedersen debate is nonstop. Like, can
He's
he come
gone.
back?
He's going.
Will
He's
he
going.
come back?
No,
And
he's
like,
gone.
if you do send him somewhere, is he just gonna come back and be even better like he was
Buffalo.
at the start of his career?
Buffalo.
Right. So, and that's gonna
Buffalo.
hurt. That's gonna hurt extra, right? If he ends up coming back. But like, I don't know, like a guy like Jake DeBrusk, Brock Besser, like try to keep some of those guys around so that they can have a bit more of a seamless transition. But like, I don't know. I think it was never meant to be. Demko has never been healthy enough for this core. And hopefully they can rebuild into something else. I mean, the Canadian teams are relatively, I thought they were going to be stronger, to be honest, this year, but they have been strong over the past few years, so it's not a bad time to go into a bit of a rebuild. Well, and my thing with Toronto is too, like it's very hard right now for Toronto fans because you don't have any picks, your farm is hurting, your team's not strong. So that's why I say, well,
Hook,
that's
line,
why
sinker.
trading Matthews like is something, right? Like it's worth looking into because you'll get a ton for Austin Matthews.
Oh, a ton.
And you know what? If nobody wants to
But
pay it, then you keep him and you try as hard as you can to keep him. But man, like it's frustrating. Must be
it
frustrating.
is. It is. It is. Now look, Trudes, we've ate into our Chuck-a-Buck time, so we've got 20 minutes
Yeah,
left
it's
of the
okay.
show. So between some football and some Chuck-a-Buck, we ate into that time. But nonetheless, we talked a lot about the NHL. We're overdue for this, and I'm glad you're able to chime in on some of your
Yeah,
reaction with
of course. Thanks.
with Top Shelf. Now, before everyone knows, I didn't get to introduce Trudes. Okay, but everyone should know who he is. So, hi, Jordan. This is Jordan Trudeau. He's our co-host on Chuck-a-Puck. So, hope all is well, my friend, and welcome aboard to another show here tonight. So, there's the transition for Trudes. Okay, just in case people are going to call that out. Why the heck did I introduce this guy? We just had to flow with it. All right, BMac, I'm letting you go, my friend, and we're going to be back together next week, my man, and we'll see what's going on in the NHL standings more so next week. But great question about the captains.
Yeah,
Love it. Keep that shit coming. I love these
I just
unexpected questions. It creates the banter.
I just want to say before I go, I thought you were wearing a Toronto versus everybody T-shirt that you can pick up at probably Pearson Airport, but God love you. You're wearing a Leafs. Looks like a workout type style shirt.
It is. It's
Yeah,
very
I knew
beautiful.
it. I knew it. All right. Well, hey, put a better shift in at the gym than the Leafs do. Okay.
Love it. That's a great close. See you later, BMac. Love it.
See you guys.
Good to see you.
I want to give you the floor about some overall updates around the OHL/Major Junior, and then, of course, transition to where we talk a lot on this show about the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds. Floor is yours, my friend, and I will follow your lead, which I love doing once in a while.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I appreciate it. I don't know if I like being the lead, but I like following your lead more. Yeah, it's 6 games left the Greyhounds have, and then some teams are at 5 games remaining. It's getting down to the wire here. It was nice to see the Brampton Steelheads get a win. I believe they were winless in about 11 games there. So, and then they won back to back. So they won 2 games in a row. Obviously, it's good. They're well out of a playoff picture. Probably, definitely won't see the playoffs. I mean, mathematically they're not out, but 9 points behind with only 6 games left is a pretty huge margin to climb back from. So, you know, it's kind of good to see a team like that, a struggling team, get some positives going into the off season. That Brampton Steelheads franchise really took a hit. They lost Porter Martone and Jack Ivankovich to the NCAA this past summer. And then with Adam Valentini decommitting from the Kitchener Rangers, they lost out on a big draft pick return for him as well because they dealt him to the Kitchener Rangers with conditionals. So,
Yep.
you know, that took a big blow, and it's going to take probably a couple of years for them to rebound. It's good to see them have a nice positive spin in these past couple weeks. As for kind of the word around the OHL, I mean, there's a couple teams that sit in the CHL top 10, which is like the top teams from all the 3 leagues across Canada. That's the Brantford Bulldogs, Kitchener Rangers, the Barrie Colts, and the Flint Firebirds, all having really strong second half of seasons to their respective seasons. And so the Greyhounds, funny enough, they play 2 of those teams this week. They play Brantford
Yep.
at home on Sunday, and they play Flint on the road on Wednesday, and then Windsor on Thursday, who is not that bad of an opponent either. So biggest week of the season for the Greyhounds coming up here, and it's the biggest week of the season for a lot of teams as we go into these final few weeks here, and playoff matchups are getting more and more set in stone by the day, looking like it's gonna be the Greyhounds and Knights, which will be historic. And
Jeff
yeah,
Carter, who are you
hopefully,
cheering for? Who are you
yeah,
cheering
hopefully
for,
they
Jeff
can
Carter?
hold on to that home ice advantage. They're only there by 1 point, so
You know
they
what?
need to pull off some big wins.
Tough week, and people are like, well, can they get second? Or some people ask me, can the Greyhounds get second place? Look, that should not be the goal here for the Greyhounds. As much as you'd like it to be, it's securing
Yeah,
home ice advantage in that first round against the London Knights. I think that should be the main goal. But if you look at the schedule, you just talked about it, and if they beat Windsor and Flint, then Brantford, you win all three of those games, you're then looking at maybe being 2, maybe 4 points by next. Maybe Windsor wins another game. And then, you got 3 games left. Maybe you got a chance to catch up with Windsor, but I can't see Windsor falling behind that much in these last 6 games. I could see them at least winning 50% of it. And I think the Hounds have in my opinion, a tougher schedule. So realistically speaking, this team should be focusing on having the mindset of this being playoff hockey, playing the competitiveness of playoff hockey. It's been playoffs the past few weeks, and securing home ice advantage, because that's critical. In the Sioux, we paint the town red. Speaking of hashtag Hounds Nation, paint the town red. I like that. The Hounds want you. That's an article by Jerry Liscombe Jr. You can check that out on Sioux Greyhounds website. But we definitely are passionate here in Sault Ste. Marie about hockey and those Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds. So getting the home ice advantage would be extremely critical, especially against a team like the London Knights. In the second round, as you secure your fate, obviously it's going to be a little harder as you progress in the playoffs. As much as you'd like to get third and maybe even catch up to second, which is even further big of a dream. Sarnia, they'd have to. Sorry,
yeah.
I said Sarnia. Flint. I said Sarnia. Flint would have to lose. Like you'd have to almost lose 80% of your games, both Flint and Windsor, to realistically for the Hounds to catch them.
It is possible for them to catch Windsor because they do play Windsor twice, but that means that they have to win
Both.
some of these games, and the Greyhounds haven't been playing great hockey as of late, like to their standard, I want to say. Well, the results haven't really been there. They've dropped some key games against teams lower in the standings than them, so like they haven't been playing their brand of hockey. So that means that not only do they have to defeat this team that's higher than them in the standings and a good team, you have to play to your strengths. You have to play 100% efficient hockey, and that's not something that we've seen them do over the past couple weeks. Yeah, we're going to see what this team's made of now.
Yeah.
Hopefully Chase Reed is coming back. Hopefully he is getting healthy, and because obviously they're missing him big time on the back end. They're top defensemen.
I don't see him coming back, to be honest with everybody. Very sorry. 5th overall pick. I see him definitely playing with Nashville next year, especially where they are. If they move Stammer and Marchessault, if Nashville starts looking a different direction, which I think that they're gonna the next season, just based on how this season has went, trying to get rid of some of those contracts, move some veterans out. So I think Martin goes. So in the event Martin goes, you have Carter George, who won't be back. I think Chase Reed gets drafted, obviously top 5. He might go higher, depends. But realistically, I think he goes 5th or 6th overall. That's my prediction, as Chase Reed follows Martin's footsteps in that way. And good for Chase. Guy was a 2nd, 3rd round projection, but me and Trues, I feel like we're the only two to feel like this guy, and my father-in-law felt that this guy was a 1st round pick, and he made us look like geniuses on this show. So love it. Just no talent when you see it, but conceitedness aside. If you look at some of these guys next year, they're not going to be the same team. You got some young in there. You got some guys. But the Hounds next year might not be a contending team unless they make themselves doing that by trading. And so in the event Chase Reed gets drafted and comes back, is that someone you trade right away at the beginning of the 100%. Season? Okay.
Well, maybe not at the beginning of the season, but he's definitely somebody that you have to deal.
What does he get you as a return? What does he get you? Everything, right? Everything.
Let's look at what a defenseman got this year.
Allen.
I don't think that. Yeah, Cam Allen. I think there was a defenseman this year that did that. The Cam Allen deal would be, that would be something huge, or even comparable to the Andrew Gibson deal, whatever he netted the Greyhounds, which was, I
Do
think
you
it
think
was.
Chase gets more than Gibson though?
Yeah, I think
Because
so.
he's a better.
Yeah,
He is a
he's
Gibson. I heard he's
more.
a fan of the show, so I'm not trying
He's
to.
very yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not trying to just.
We'll say he's has a higher market value. We'll
Okay.
say that,
Yeah, we'll see.
right? Like,
that.
I mean, fifth over, like wherever he goes, top 5 pick.
And the host next year is
World Junior as 18-year. Yeah, and the host next year as well. So they would be.
Guelph is going
That
to be
would be
looking
a
to
huge.
ads.
Yeah,
Guelph would be
that
looking
would
to
be.
ads, and I know it's interconference. I call it interconference. So there's also some other teams that I feel have better seasons next year, and that's Sudbury, Kingston. I think some teams are a bit better in the East,
Yeah.
but I think Guelph's going to be the team that's all in. And because they're the team that's all in, if I'm the Hounds, I'm looking at Chase Reed being like, Guelph might not be, good in the future because if they go all in, so let's capitalize on these top picks so we get some good picks in the draft, right? So I think this year the Hounds, let's enjoy this playoff run. It's going to be a tough run. Kitchener's really good. Flint's really good. But next year, we're going to see a different dynamic. And I really thought there'd be a couple years of the Hounds being on the topper end of the standings, but I think this might be the year. And they got what they could, and they went in on Carter George. Goaltending wins championships. We've seen it. They have the chance. And with a healthy Chase Reed, Fisher back there, anything can happen. But I think you got to trade Chase Reed at the beginning of the year. And I'm sorry, Hounds fans, if you don't like that trade. But at the return, it is what it is here for
Is
Junior.
what it is. Yeah, and given the amount that they give up for Carter George this year, like they're gonna definitely in next year have to look at, their roster makeup and what they want to do. They're not gonna have any draft capital to add, so they're not gonna be able to necessarily make their team better or a contender next year. So they're gonna have to do the opposite, which is sell off some of their night. They're gonna have some 19-year-old players returning, hopefully all of them. Jordan Sharon, Travis Hayes, Chase Reed's a tough one, considering he might be in the NHL, he might go NCAA. Like we don't know. Brady Martin won't be back. He'll be either in the NHL or the AHL, barring anything completely out of this world or out of the ordinary. One thing to mention about him though, he hasn't had a full season of development. So like he's been injured a lot this year. So he's had a lot of movement. Came from Nashville to the Sioux to Team Canada, injured, right? He's been injured here and there. So yeah, it's tough on him, obviously, and tough on the Greyhounds, tough on everybody. So that might keep him out of the NHL next year. That might keep him out of the NHL next year. But these past 2 games, it looks a lot like the Brady Martin we were used to seeing the past 2 years.
Yep.
He's just been all over the ice. Jerry Liskin called him a beast on the broadcast, which he was. And I watched the game in Kitchener, sorry, I wasn't in Kitchener. I watched it on TV. They played in Kitchener, and he definitely pushed the pace. Just couldn't score any goals. So that's good news. It's good news for the Greyhounds. Chase Reed getting healthy is good news. I hate to be like a pessimist and all that, but I don't really have any expectations going into the playoffs this year, which is kind of good because I'm looking forward to it more. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. Like, there's 5 good teams there. Like, London's still a really good team, even with the assets they got rid of. So it's going to be a fight to see who wins the West. East, less so. I mean, I feel like Brantford and Barrie are at the top, and it's going to be one of those 2 coming out at least. Probably Brantford, I want to say. But the West is up for grabs, and we're going to see some good previews this week when the Hounds take on Windsor Thursday, Flint Friday, Brantford Sunday.
Sorry, Bradford and Eastern Conference fans, the Western Conference winning the OHL this year. I'm telling you right now. Sorry. All right.
Unless they're beat up. Unless you know what I mean? Unless it's a couple
depends.
7-game series. So we'll see.
Any final thoughts before we let you go here on Chuck a Puck, my friend?
Yeah. Let's enjoy this playoff run. Like you said, it's gonna be a different season next year. It's gonna be a different team next year.
So different.
And the pressure's on. The pressure's on. We'll put it that way. So let's enjoy this. And obviously there's things happening with the organization. They have like new ticket prices coming up, and there's mixed reviews about that we've seen all over. And it's just, in such an uncertain time in the world and in the city, we've fallen on some hard times here in Sault Ste. Marie. And with everything that's going on, let's just try and rally behind them, be positive, and let's try and get these kids and let's try and light a fire under them because they want to win. Don't get me wrong. Everybody wants to win, They're hungry to win. And it's just my hope that they all stay healthy too. They haven't really been able to have a healthy span. Like they haven't had a healthy team all year. They haven't been able to have their full team like at
Brady,
all
Chase, yeah.
almost. Yeah.
So
So
see you in
like
the playoffs.
maybe, yeah, like let's stay healthy for the playoffs and let's see what they can do. And I'm looking forward to it.
Definitely give a round of applause to the OHL for a good season overall. A lot of parity, but sorry, the West has been the most entertaining.
It's a monster.
Let us definitely a
It's
monster.
a beast.
So, Trudes, you had a little time on Top Shelf and obviously the full Chuck-a-Puck here. So, my friend, before I transition to a solo in the pocket, which I haven't done in quite some time, for a quick little reaction about the NFL free agency, which has been a frenzy and a half, I want to say thank you for taking the time for coming on today, and we'll chat next week, my friend.
That sounds good. See you next week.
Sounds good, man. All right, Jordan Trudeau and obviously Brendan McCarthy. We had Top Shelf and Chuck-a-Puck there mixed in. Now we're going to have me here solo talking NFL for the next 5 to 10 minutes. We're already starting to hit the hour threshold. I'm getting the nudge, if you will, from the producer end to make sure we hit that hour timeline. I fear we might go a little bit over this week, but that is okay. I will face those repercussions for that. But I'm going to have to keep this as brief as I can, which might be to the joy of you, because Dave getting on to a rant in football, I can go so many different directions. And I don't feel right doing it without my In the Pocket crew, or mainly Justin, being here. But I'm going to credit, of course, this being an In the Pocket segment and a bonus in the pocket segment. We like having some of these bonus segments for shows like Strike Zone and In the Pocket when it's the off season. Those shows, the segments that we're known for, of course, the core four being Top Shelf, Chuck-a-Puck, Strike Zone, and In the Pocket. As I talked about last week, we talk about all sports on here, but we obviously have our core four that we focus on. And In the Pocket is technically on its off seasons. 9 years of In the Pocket. We're going to be hitting 10 years of In the Pocket next year. And this has been 10 years of the show's existence. So for 90% of it, we have had In the Pocket. And we've also had a hockey segment, but the hockey segment officially didn't start in Sault Ste. Marie until the year after. We've had 2 different names for it. So In the Pocket's been the longest running portion and segment here on the Game Sports, previously Sports Show, now Sports Podcast. Fun fact for you. Might be a trivia question down the road. But let's get into In the Pocket, which is partnered with Sports Center Bar and Grill, located here in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario's best sports bar for 5 years in a row and multiple years of best wings. If you're located in Sault Ste. Marie, go check out the sports bar field at Sports Center. There's nothing better than watching sports there. Let me tell you, I watched the Raptors win their championship there. Great vibes, and we love Sports Center here on the Game Sports Podcast. This free agency has been fun for the NFL, okay? Vegas, the Raiders, basically, I'm going to highlight for you right now, are the biggest winners. They went on a massive spending spree. Multiple big defensive additions is something that I have noted, and they're now one of the most aggressive teams in the league, okay? A lot of people have stated that the Raiders, this has been a memorable day. This has been the best free agency and day that the Raiders could have had. I'm going to go with that this is a statement day for the Raiders. This, for what happened when they made their signings, especially by bringing in Linderbaum at a very expensive top center on the market, $81 million. Enormous deal, of course, but it's showing that they're trying to get better and saying that we're back, and hopefully it doesn't go in the other direction for them. But they had some money that got thrown around here. You got Jalen Phillips, who just took an absolute edge rusher, took a big deal. You got Odef Owa took a big sign as well, over $100 million. Kenneth Walker, who went to the Chiefs, makes a big splash bringing in Kenneth Walker to try to really solidify that running back position. Mike Evans, I was shocked to see him from Francisco. I thought that maybe that would be something where he would be looking at the Raiders. I thought maybe the Panthers would be a very good option for Evans as well. But he goes to the 49ers, making them a little extra scary on that offensive side. Right behind them, the Chiefs, by bringing in Kenneth Walker, adds a stack more for their weapons and a hopeful, healthy Patrick Mahomes and a rebound season. I'd be very surprised if Travis Kelce didn't come back, especially since they're trying to keep their Super Bowl window wide open, if you will. The Tennessee Titans, a lot of cap space. They had some big early spending, of course, but they're trying to accelerate that rebuild. So I'm going to try to get them as a winner. I want to fit them in. They're trying to make those strides. But there were contenders that were quiet on the market. But one move that I like it, I don't mean to take it as a Steeler fan, the Pittman Jr. trade was certainly something that was really interesting. At Gainwell going over to the Buccaneers was certainly not I would say a surprise, but he's definitely going to get a lot more touches there as you had the dual running back situation. Pittsburgh, who brought in Rico Doolittle over to play and back up there with Warren in Pittsburgh. But Pittsburgh bringing in a wide receiver to be a complement to Metcalf. And to add to that, it'll be very interesting to see how they decide to do with their quarterback situation. It seems like that Aaron Rodgers will likely be the guy going back. And as I sit here, he's obviously, I think someone Mike McCarthy wants to have back there in Pittsburgh to have one more year to run back. And obviously the quarterback market being where it's at, very interesting to see what the draft becomes, if that becomes something, if they draft that way and keep Rodgers, kind of like a Favre Rodgers situation, but definitely an older approach. I think Rodgers is going to be catching that football next year and throwing the ball to Pittman and Metcalf if you're a Pittsburgh fan. And hopefully if you're a Steeler fan like I am, that they get some youth at the quarterback position through draft or trade to be kind of a shadow for Rodgers to mentor, if you will. But from the in the pocket side of things, I'm loving what the Raiders do. I'm giving the Raiders love here on in the pocket. Full love to the Las Vegas Raiders. And look, it's way too early. Contracts were big. I'm going to save even the fact of which teams improved the most. I had grades and I mentioned that I want to do that, but it wouldn't feel right to do that without Justin Heichel. How do you think everything went? What surprised you? What moves are still to come? If you want to really ask me what I'm surprised about, who I have I guess you can say, let's say kind of a guilty pleasure for who I enjoy watching is Tua. And the Falcons bringing in Tua and Penix and Tua, I'm very interested to see how that really works out. I'm actually surprised the Steelers didn't look at Tua as a sign option to be behind Aaron Rodgers. I feel like despite his injuries, I feel like it would have been a good situation for him to be behind Aaron Rodgers if he was to return and try to get back to what he was meant to be doing. I thought a good fit was there in Pittsburgh for him. But even some other teams could have been a really good fit. But him going to Atlanta is going to be very interesting to kind of see the directions that the Falcons go. And maybe if he has a good mentor to try to get back into the rhythm of being what he was meant to play and be at the level that he was expected to be at. Some teams paid money early here in the trade deadline, but I'm more intrigued about the contenders that stayed quiet. And I'm not just going to go here and list a bunch of them. Like I'm not going to sit here and talk about the Texans, the Patriots, and go through a list like that. The Buffalo Bills did obviously make some moves, but I'm interested to see as the summer goes on, because the draft is going to be even where it's a bit more interesting, especially where some trade talk. So we'll save that when Justin is able to join, whom, may I add, is expecting his second child at any day. So I want to say an early congratulations to Justin. That might not arrive until next week or the week after, who knows, but we hear it's any day now. So there might be another Game Sports Podcast fan coming to the world very soon. So when Justin has his life put together, we'll get him back on here. It'll be the perfect time to react about what this offseason has been. But here on the Game Sports Podcast, if I'm able to have someone join me to talk football, I will. But otherwise, you'll have just some solo segments with yours truly. All right, so I did get this done in under 10 minutes, which I'm very surprised about. The show is going to be over an hour, but look, a lot of great content for you to enjoy. So we've had Top Shelf, we've had Chuck Puck, we've had In the Pocket, one of which me being solo, Brendan and I with a little bit of Trudes in that Top Shelf and full me and Trudes on Chuck Puck. We hope that you enjoyed yet another edition of the Game Sports Podcast. If you're tuning in on the audio platform, hit like, follow, and subscribe. If you're on the video platform such as 91N, which is our powered by 91 network, where all video editions of the game are, interact. We love it. Follow, like, subscribe, all the fun things. Social media at the Game Sports Podcast. We got TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. You can find us. We're anywhere. Okay, we are anywhere. Find us. All right, and you can also check out some previous editions of the game, such as some special editions. We got some good ones coming up. I've had some good ones get booked later on this month and going into April. Very excited to announce those as we get closer to. But we hope you enjoyed tonight's show, and if you really loved it, like I said, don't hesitate to visit back often, as this is the 10th year that the Game Sports Podcast has been around. So we've been around a long time. And for those that have been with us from the beginning, we love it. And if you're new to the show, we hope you enjoyed your, I guess, stay with us, we'll call it. And you can laugh at me if you're on the video show wearing a Toronto Maple Leaf shirt. I just thought it looked nice for camera today, to be honest with you. If you're on the audio side, you missed it. But hopefully our voices serenaded you. All right, made you feel that you made good use of your time, because we love giving you this content here on the game. Until next week, I'm here to remind you to keep your stick on the ice, swing your bats, catch your touchdowns, drain your threes, and shoot your shots. Booyah.